Hello and welcome to Newscentre. I'm Sidharth Luthra. The Aam Aadmi Party government in Delhi is in a tight spot over its excise policy of 2022. The CBI arrested Deputy Chief Minister Manish Sisodia last night. After several hours of questioning, he was presented in the court today, where the CBI sought to keep him in a 5-day custody for further interrogation. The arrest has triggered protests by Aam Aadmi Party workers across Delhi and other parts of the country. Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal claimed CBI officers had no evidence and the arrest was done under political pressure. Let's go across to Abhimanyu Sharma for the very latest in this case. Abhimanyu, what has the court said so far?
Rouse Avenue Court in Delhi has sent Delhi's Deputy Chief Minister Manish Sisodia to CBI custody for 5 days. Sisodia's lawyers had claimed that he had throughout cooperated in the investigation and there was no need for his custodial interrogation. They had maintained that nothing incriminating was found during the raids which were conducted at his residence and his office. They had also said that the erstwhile Delhi liquor policy was out in the public domain to ensure transparency and questioned whether an investigation agency can question a decision taken by an elected government and duly certified by the Lieutenant Governor. CBI, on the other hand, had maintained that Sisodia was evasive when he was confronted with evidence during questioning and had sought custodial interrogation. CBI had also contended that the profit margin for liquor wholesalers had increased to 12% as per the new policy compared to 5% as per the earlier policy, and the decision was taken to unduly favor private businessmen and had claimed that custodial interrogation was required since many more accused and their role is still under scanner. It remains to be seen what evidence will be presented before the court on the next date of hearing.
उस मनीष सिसोदिया के खिलाफ कोई सबूत नहीं मिला। घर में 14 घंटे छापेमारी की, सीबीआई ने कुछ नहीं मिला। दफ्तर में छापेमारी की, कुछ नहीं मिला। गांव में छापेमारी की, कुछ नहीं मिला। बैंक का लॉकर चेक कर लिया, कुछ नहीं मिला। और आप कल्पना कीजिए कि 10,000 करोड़ की रिश्वत का आरोप लगाया जा रहा है उनको, लेकिन सिर्फ और सिर्फ राजनीतिक कारणों से और अपने घोटालों पर पर्दा डालने के लिए नरेंद्र मोदी जी की सरकार ने मनीष सिसोदिया को गिरफ्तार किया है।
सेंट्रल ब्यूरो ऑफ इन्वेस्टिगेशन देश की एक प्रीमियर एजेंसी है। वो अगर किसी सरकार के उप मुख्यमंत्री को अरेस्ट करती है तो अगर हम लोग वास्तव में कानून का सम्मान करते हैं तो हमें मान के चलना चाहिए कि उनके पास पर्याप्त कारण होंगे उनको अरेस्ट करने के।
ये कोई पहली घटना देश में नहीं है। बीजेपी जब से सत्ता में आई है उसकी कोशिश रही है जो सेंट्रल एजेंसीज हैं उनका गलत इस्तेमाल किया जाए। जनता ये देख रही है क्योंकि बेरोजगारी का इनके पास जवाब नहीं है, महंगाई का जवाब नहीं है और जिस तरीके से देश की संपत्तियां बेची जा रही हैं उसका जवाब नहीं है।
And joining me now to take this forward is Sidharth Luthra, senior advocate. Mr. Luthra, thank you very much for joining us. Let me begin by asking you, do you feel the CBI has a strong case here? They have enough evidence to prosecute Manish Sisodia, the Deputy Chief Minister of Delhi?
So I will answer that. The merits of the case are yet to be determined. It's a matter of investigation. The investigation is yet to be concluded against Mr. Sisodia. Has been done against certain others, but again, Mr. Sisodia, I guess, has to go on. We are considering the arrest and the remand at this stage. The merits of the CBI case will be much later when the case goes to trial. Today, the issue in all such cases is that which you've had a long pending investigation. The mere allegation of non-cooperation in is whether it ought to be a basis for arrest or not. And the law specifically is that in this country, we have under Article 20 the right to silence. We have the right to silence, which has been recognized by the Supreme Court as well in Santosh's case. And therefore, the mere refusal to answer or the failure to go along the lines plotted by an investigator, whether that can be the basis of arrest. My answer is absolutely not, though in practice it is becoming the norm, and that is what needs to be considered in this case and in every other case. Right now I'm given to understand that there is a prayer for remand which is pending, and that will have to be considered, which is by the judge who has heard and reserved the orders on his own merits.
Mr. Luthra, do you also believe, and this is what the government is telling the court, and this is what transpired a short while back, that the liquor policy, the excise policy was placed in public domain by the Delhi government for transparency, for stakeholder consultations as well, and CBI is actually questioning a decision of an elected government and the approval by the LG, who did not suggest any changes at that time. Do you think this is a strong argument in the case?
It's a legitimate argument, definitely. The problem that we are facing is that they have the agencies, both CBI and ED, have prosecuted other persons based on the implementation of the policy. Today, of course, now there is a challenge to the very policy itself. My view is, in fiscal matters and financial policy matters, on the formulation of policy, courts are reluctant to interfere when they are challenged on the ground that this is a matter of wisdom of the executive. If that be the case, can you use an investigation to do something which the constitutional courts are loath to interfere with? And that is the point that needs to be considered in such matters. The difficulty, if you recall, even in 2G, the issue of the policy was called in question, and all those cases ended in either discharge or acquittal in 2G and additional spectrum, while there were claims of crores upon crores of rupees, which had been lost.
Right. My final question would be that the CBI here claims that they have found out through the investigation that there was a certain South lobby which was being benefited by the government. There were certain businessmen, certain entities which paid kickbacks to the government for a favourable excise policy, and the profit margin for wholesalers was increased from 5% to 12% in the new policy. The policy was changed was changed by appointing a GOM. A previous confidential note was kept hidden. Do you think there would be enough paper trail to justify all these allegations?
So the point is, the ED has filed certain complaints based on these allegations. The CBI is also proceeding on the same line because that was the basis of the ED investigation, the CBI making the allegation. But the point is a little larger. These are all matters of documentary evidence. Assuming that a policy is one way or the other, the question is, should an individual be put to custody? For what purpose? You've been investigating this long enough. What is the justification to detain or arrest a person? And that is the concern in all such cases. I must also point out that it's not that the agencies have not arrested other persons in the past, but if you've had this ongoing for over a year, what is it that has made the investigator in CBI feel that now there is an emergency which calls for arrest?
So this is probably the main issue that they will have to justify. In fact, they made arguments to this effect, and the court would also be considering, and possibly if they do get custody and the matter gets challenged, do you feel the timing of the arrest is something that the CBI will have to justify in other courts as well, Mr. Luthra?
Of course, they'll have to justify the timing or the basis of the arrest. Unfortunately, I find as a matter of practice that courts tend to give all investigating agencies a very large rope in these matters, and they have a lot of there's a let's say a liberal approach once arrests have already taken place. The focus is then on police custody and judicial custody remand and how to minimize it, and the issue of arrest is not really being dealt with by the sensitivity it requires to be done. If you recall, in Munawar Faruqi's case, a division bench of the Supreme Court had granted him interim bail on the ground that the arrest was illegal. So it's not that it can't be done, but it needs to be done more often. When investigators act, they hold the law.
All right. Mr. Sidharth Luthra, thank you very much for joining us with your views on the arrest of Manish Sisodia and the proceedings that have taken place in the lower courts as of now. We're heading into a short break, but coming up, global consultancy firm Kearney believes that focus on manufacturing, decarbonization, infrastructure and digitization is a must for India to become a global manufacturing powerhouse and a superpower. A discussion when we are back with Alex Liu, chairman of Kearney. You're watching Newscentre. According to the IMF, India has been a bright spot in the global economy, with 15% of global growth expected to come from India in 2023. The IMF believes that the focus on digitization and a fiscal policy responsive to economic conditions has put the country on a strong growth path. Speaking to CNBC-TV18, the IMF chief said that India must continue with structural reforms, focus on inclusiveness and create more jobs for women. But how can India speed up its journey to become the third largest and a $40 trillion economy by 2047? Global consultancy firm Kearney believes that focus on manufacturing, decarbonization, infrastructure and digitization is key. Let me go across to the chairman and MD of Kearney, Alex Liu. Alex Liu, thank you very much for joining us here on CNBC TV18. Give us your sense and your outlook for India amid this challenging global environment. The war is still on. There are inflationary pressures. There is a worry about a recession as well. How is India poised right now in the global landscape?
Well, thanks, and good to see you again, Parikshit. Listen, you're exactly right that the rest of the world is having a bit of a partly cloudy outlook, and it's a pretty bumpy ride. But the one big bright spot in this world has been India's performance. The world needs a strong and growing India, and the world's getting it. And what I see is continuing opportunities for further greatness and further boldness. While the rest of the world is actually a bit paralyzed by some of the uncertainties, right? The cost of money increases, inflation, recession, and geopolitical concerns, all of which also affects India. India is growing and providing a disproportionate share of the growth and has a plan for the future. You look at the federal budget. I looked at the presentation by the CEO of Invest India. The numbers speak for themselves. There's a great deal of tailwind behind enabling infrastructure for future growth, whether it's on the people side, the inclusion side, the digitization side, the healthcare side, the transportation side. It's a full scope build of the capabilities and infrastructure to enable growth in the various verticals, all the industry segments that you mentioned at the beginning. So I'm pretty bullish on it. I'm here now, actually, in the last week and the next week with my global management team and global board, celebrating our 25th anniversary in India, where we have strong plans where we want to triple our own business in the next 3 years. And we believe that this is a great place to participate in that global growth.
Right. Give us a sense of how you would like to grow your workforce, grow your footprint in the India market. How crucial is India in your global growth strategy?
Well, it's very important. I mean, obviously, we are serving clients. And to do that and be in the impact business fully, we need great talent. There's a great wealth, talent pool, a talent magnet, talent being developed with education, et cetera, new skills in India. Not only for serving clients here, but also, we have a global model. We're providing expertise at scale, whether it's people that have engineering, technical analytics, M&A experts, ESG experts, and India has a great deal of that talent for us to sort of exploit and benefit from for our global clients. So India is a key piece of our global growth strategy, as it is increasingly for some of our clients. I think they look at India as a great source of future growth. India as a consumption opportunity is huge. I mean, the age, the demographics, the rise to the middle class, the skills, the education level, it's a huge market that speaks for itself. To be in the top 3 markets of the world, you need to have that type of momentum. While the rest of the larger economies are aging out, demographics are very much in favor, the fundamentals are very much in favor of India.
Right. Alex, I would also like to ask you about areas where India needs to focus on, because when we speak about growth, the IMF chief just a few days back told us that she expects 15% of global growth to come from India in 2023. Having said that, how important is for India to accelerate on its strategies when it comes to manufacturing, decarbonization, and also improving its infrastructure?
Well, I think I mentioned a bit earlier that the infrastructure is key to developing a good base for investment and attracting foreign capital, and also unleashing the power of the local entrepreneurs here to invest in India. Around the world, what I'm seeing with our clients is a board level priority to future proof their business model. The reality is that there is a lot of single country risk and vulnerability. We're all aware of that. And India can play a very major role in being an alternative for those types of manufacturing network decisions. There are two competing and complementary imperatives happening right now. There's a need to diversify the physical network footprint for manufacturing. People, clients, and companies are looking at India. They're looking at places outside of China, outside the United States, nearshoring, onshoring, offshoring, et cetera. So there's a physical diversification. At the same time, we see clients looking to rejuvenate, update, reinvent their entire business model. Supply chains, for example, are not one way. They should be circular. They should not be analog. They should be analytically informed. They should be transparent. They should test the resilience and the information on the supply chain that actually makes for better products and better visibility to the entire flow of goods. So those two imperatives are making it creating an opportunity for Indian entrepreneurs, companies, states to attract investment. It's not easy because you're also competing with other ASEAN countries. And so therefore providing ease of doing business, making it easy to invest, having a clear and strong infrastructure with a large local base of customers, just like it was for China 30 years ago, I think is a very appealing story for global investors.
Right. Alex, as you spoke about diversification of supply chains, we also see a lot of the electronic supply chain shifting to Vietnam. From Apple's to Google, many of the electronic firms want to set up shop in Vietnam because of its strong electronic manufacturing prowess. Can India attract those companies? Will it have to make some changes to its governance structure, to its manufacturing policies, or should it look at new sectors for drawing companies which want to move out of China or want to have an alternate manufacturing base?
I mean, I think you mentioned a few of the sectors within manufacturing that have global appeal and have large buyers of manufacturing facilities and potential employees to exploit and to hire and train. So I think it's a competitive world. And in certain states and certain sectors, I think India can leapfrog perhaps and become more competitive, have a much more competitive foreign investment proposition versus the Vietnams and the Malaysias and the Philippines and Mexico's of the world, which are trying to nearshore, onshore, and improve their capabilities. I think it's important for boldness. And I see in the federal budget a lot of investment focus on the infrastructure that will make it more attractive to take electronics and other sectors. There is a great opportunity also, I think, in the green economy. This is an opportunity for India to leapfrog the greenhouse gas emission infrastructure. There's a whole green economy and sectorization that is possible, looking at decarbonization technologies, investing in hydrogen. We have several dozen assignments now globally and a few in India looking at the economics of that type of infrastructure and technology of the future. Why shouldn't India also be key in solar manufacturing? So I think there's plenty of opportunity to invest, plenty of new economy type of sectors where India could be more competitive. And, you know, again, at the end of the year, I think India is showcasing a lot of those fundamentals in being the presidency of the G20. I think it's a great time to showcase what India has to offer. I think one main point I'd like to emphasize that the world needs a strong and growing India as an alternative to all the other sites and countries out there to diversify and provide optionality for investment.
Right. That's an important point. Alex, I would also like to ask you about three key reforms. If I were to ask you about three key reforms that India needs to make and must make in order to make it easier for business, easier for manufacturing, what would that be?
But I think India is doing a lot of great things right now. I think the business confidence is high. I think the cooperation between public and private sector, in particular the family-led, founded, and now next, second and third generation companies and to invest is very strong. So I think first, India is already building on a great deal of strength in its business reforms. as in any investment strategy, I think companies are looking for ease of doing business. Can we get permitting faster? Can we see a plan for investing in the infrastructure, whether it's shipping or whether it's transportation, whether it's energy? Is there a healthcare system that can support our workers? I think a lot of what I saw in the federal budget actually pointed in that right direction. The key, though, is just execution, follow through, and having a healthy competition between perhaps the states to do that. I think the simplification of the tax code, providing helpful incentives to attract the sectors of the future on the manufacturing side and on the product development side will all be helpful.
Right. My final question would be, any key sectors which make you most excited about India?
I think the question should be the other way around. Which sectors are not exciting? I think there's a great nation-building exercise in the next the years to 2047. You go down the line: healthcare, transportation, energy transition, infrastructure, logistics, financial services, tech startups, digital payments. These are all in play. And one thing that I have admired India business for is its sense of boldness and in long-term perspective of investment, and also the entrepreneurial spirit of, in particular, the family companies and the next generation of them to actually make it happen.
Right. Alex Liu, thank you very much for joining us with your outlook on India and what India needs to do in order to play a greater role in global supply chains as well. With that, it's a wrap on this edition of Newscentre. Don't go anywhere. News continues on CNBC-TV18. Stay tuned.